So two things struck me immediately in the beginning of this review of this report. The first piece was transparency and accountability, and the second piece was about the 93% of people that basically don't get arrested when they come in contact with law enforcement. So I kind of stopped there because, first of all, it made me think of all your counterterrorism programs. It made me think about transparency. It made me think about why suspicious activity reports, why people don't know that they actually have one written on them, why chronic offender bulletins aren't released, and how when we think about use of force, we already kind of talked about everything that leads up to the bullet hitting the body. But you claim transparency, but again, we know that you keep very hidden all the components that lead up to the bullet hitting the body. So why don't you just release these suspicious activity reports instead of making us file PRAs and file lawsuits to get them released? Why don't you let people know that they have chronic offender bulletins written on them? So then it brings me to the 93% of people that don't get arrested. But what actually happens to them? And that's what I want to know, because I'd like the percentage breakdown of how many people actually get entered into databases. Because we know with chronic offender bulletins, there's multiple databases that are used to generate a chronic offender bulletin based on predetermined criteria, which again, with transparency, what the hell does predetermined criteria actually mean? Which I'm sure many of you, again, don't even understand how a chronic offender bulletin is actually generated. But they take information from people who are not arrested, but people who actually have quality interaction with law enforcement. So actually, when those 93% of people didn't get arrested, what actually happened to them? So you have field interview cards, you have patrol officers that make reports, you have parole officers that make reports, you have foot patrol that make reports, you have bike patrol that make reports. So all these things get entered into databases. So there's this immediate criminalization of people. So that 93%, don't be proud of it, because we know that you don't know what happens to them, but we are finding out what's happening to them, and that's very significant. So use of force. Use of force means look back. Look at all these structures that lead up to the bullet hitting the body. What happens to those 93% of the people? What database do they get entered into? Those are the things that you need to waste your time on. Those are the things you need to be thinking about, because again, fixating on use of force is just something for you to make yourself feel better. Fixating on biased policing is just something to make yourselves feel better. You're doing nothing significant.
Let her talk, Matt.
You're doing nothing significant. I just want you to know that, Matt, because that was your big hoorah when you first came in here, that use of force was some kind of big change you were going to make. We know how entertainment works. You're just making yourself look big.